The National Desk, America's News, now.
Flash flood alerts, double the amount of rain a month in less than 5 hours. Who had to be rescued amidst the devastation?
We have been increasing the assets and the resources and the staffing that we have been providing to the former president since he was a presidential candidate and then the presumptive nominee.
New investigations open up into how the Secret Service handled a would-be assassination. The latest of what we know about last weekend's political violence. Then, a scene right out of a murder mystery. How 2 Americans and 4 others died in a Bangkok hotel and what police say may have been the motive. This is the National Desk, America's News Now. I'm Amira David, and as we come on the air, severe weather threats all along the East Coast from Louisiana to Maine. Roughly 91 million Americans are under at least a marginal threat tonight. The most likely and concentrated area for severe warnings are in the mid-Atlantic to the northeast. In northern Arkansas, 86 people are recovering right now after being rescued from a nursing home this morning following dangerous flash flooding. All residents were safe and no injuries were reported. 6 to 11 inches of rain fell in just 4 to 5 hours. The area typically only gets about 4 inches of rain for the month of July. At least one bridge in Marion County has been washed out by that flooding. And flood warnings are also in effect for parts of Kansas and Missouri. Meantime, in New York, at least 1 person died yesterday as severe storms with at least 4 tornadoes swept through the state overnight. Nearly 70,000 New York customers remained without power. Central New York, Mohawk Valley, and the southern tier were hit the hardest. Footage shows downed trees, street lights, and power lines. Winds of nearly 80 miles per hour flipped vehicles and damaged buildings. And once again, more than 106 million Americans under heat alerts tonight. It does appear that this will be the last day for many for these dangerous temperatures for now, as the National Weather Service says the heat will start to abate tomorrow and also Friday, with temperatures cooling by about 10 to 15 degrees in some places. It is day 3 of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. All eyes tonight will be on the man former President Donald Trump has chosen to be his running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, who will deliver his headline speech. And national correspondent Atra Al-Nashar is live at the convention with a preview of what we can expect. Atra.
Hey, good evening, Amira. Look, this is the most important night of J.D. Vance's budding political career. He's been in the U.S. Senate for less than 2 years, so a lot of folks just don't know a lot about him. Maybe they're not sure what he is actually bringing to the Republican ticket. And he is young, just shy of 40. Vance, now Trump's running mate, is being seen by more and more people as the heir apparent to the MAGA movement. It's night 3 of the RNC. The theme, Make America Strong Once Again, focusing on national security and America's status on the world stage. Before Pfizer Forum fills up with supporters and delegates from across the country, Vance getting a feel for the stage where he'll be formally introduced as the GOP 2024 vice presidential nominee. Seen here huddling with Donald Trump Jr., Vance now officially part of the former president's inner circle, less than 4 months until Election Day. Once a fierce Trump critic, Vance now mirrors Trump, so much so that some Republicans are starting to see him as Trump's possible successor.
And in a way, it looks like it's a pretty clear passing of the torch. You know, if this is, in his opinion, the person who is best suited to take Trumpism, whatever that might be.
The MAGA movement.
Yeah, and move it forward.
And the Biden campaign agrees, calling Vance a, quote, rubber stamp for Trump's extreme agenda.
And make no mistake, J.D. Vance will be loyal only to Trump, not to our country. He supports a national abortion ban and voted against protecting IVF.
Now, we do know, Amira, that Vance and the vice president have spoken. She congratulated him. They agreed they should debate, but some breaking news in the last few hours, some back and forth with the campaign. Harris agreed to an August 12th debate date with Vance, but then the Trump campaign came back in the last hour and said they're not agreeing to any VP debate date before the RNC, which is the DNC, which starts August 19th. They say that because they don't know who the Democrat nominee for vice president is going to be, is the quote from this Trump campaign senior advisor. So they're really jabbing at the Biden campaign in this Democratic chaos and uncertainty about the calls for Biden to step down. They say agreeing to a debate date would be unfair to whoever Harris chooses as her running mate, which of course we know is not quite the reality at this moment.
And Natra, each night has had a theme, and tonight's is, as you mentioned, Make America Strong, once again focusing on national security, foreign policy and the like. Yep. Who else is the Republican Party bringing in, other than, of course, Vance, to touch on those hot topics?
Yeah. Some household names, some House members that we hear a lot about in the news: Matt Gaetz, Nancy Mace. We're also going to hear from Texas Governor Greg Abbott. In the political world, we're going to hear from Kellyanne Conway, who ran Trump's 2016 campaign. We're also going to hear from Kimberly Guilfoyle, who is Donald Trump Jr.'s partner. So expect to hear a lot of echoes of Trump's isolationist views of foreign policy, America's role in key alliances like NATO, probably touching on Trump's reluctance to continue to support Ukraine. And this is a critical night because Iran is going to be watching. Russia, China, North Korea, they're going to be paying close attention to what could be policies of the next president.
Critical night ahead, as you said, on night 3 of the RNC. Thank you so much for that report, Atral Nashar in Milwaukee for us. The Georgia election interference case will not take place before the November election. In a perceived win for Donald Trump and his co-defendants, the Georgia Court of Appeals has scheduled oral arguments in the appeal of ruling to allow Fani Willis to stay on as prosecutor for December 5th, 1 month after the election. Lawyers for Donald Trump and his co-defendants seek to remove Willis because of what they say was an improper relationship with former case prosecutor Nathan Wade. Federal Judge Scott McAfee allowed Willis to stay on as long as Wade stepped down. Springfield, Illinois law enforcement is bracing for anti-police protests as the family of Sonia Massie is reviewing body cam footage of her death with Illinois State Police today. Sonia, a black homeowner, was shot and killed 2 weeks ago after she called police saying there was an intruder in her home. She was subsequently shot in the head by a Sangamon County Sheriff's deputy. Protesters began lining up outside of the Sangamon County building demanding answers on Monday. A school district in Southern California, along with parents, is suing Governor Gavin Newsom and the state of California to block a new law that says state public school employees no longer are required to inform parents about their child's gender identity or sexual orientation. A lawyer for the plaintiffs says schools have no right to secrecy, but parents do have a right to know information about their children who are minors. A spokesperson for the governor called the lawsuit unserious and says the new law protects the child-parent relationship. The Department of Homeland Security's Inspector General is opening an investigation into how the Secret Service handled Saturday's assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump. President Biden had already requested an independent review of the incident. United States Secret Service Director Kim Cheadle told CNN today the responsibility remains with the Secret Service and a review is necessary to find out what exactly went wrong.
I can't get into the specifics of any threats, but obviously with all of our protectees, we're constantly monitoring the threats that are out there, and we design our security plan based on that. And on that particular day, a full advance had been completed, but this is also why we are doing an internal review, and we look forward to the external review as well. And obviously, if there are things that we need to change about our policies or our procedures or our methods, we are certainly going to do so.
And part of that investigation might entail speaking with many of the eyewitnesses who saw and even filmed the shooting as it happened. The National Desk's Keith Daniels spoke with one couple who took a video of suspected killer, 20-year-old Thomas Crooks, on the roof of the building as he took aim.
They are images that won't soon be forgotten. Suspected killer, 20-year-old Thomas Crooks, on the roof of a building, taking aim.
When I seen him holding the gun like he was taking aim, I thought, oh my God, this guy's about to shoot into the crowd or something. So I turned my phone on.
Mike DeFrisha said he started recording on his cell phone. The still photo grabbed from that video.
Yeah, we had just got there a little bit late.
He and his wife Amber live in Crawford County, Pennsylvania. They were at the Trump rally in Butler Saturday. They arrived late, so they sat outside of the secured area near the building where Crooks waited.
We were there maybe 10 minutes waiting for Mr. Trump to come on. And then after he came on and started to speak, my wife shortly after he started nudged me and said, hey, what's going on behind us? And that's when we noticed some commotion.
Yeah, where's Seth? Oh my God.
DeFrisha said he noticed Crooks climbing the roof, then noticed he had a gun. They tried alerting police, then took cover.
I kind of felt I could see the guy with my eyes. I knew where he was at. I got me and my wife behind a big tree, and I felt that we were safe.
Then you see the gun, you're like, oh my God, we have to hide. But there's nowhere to hide. There was a couple trees to hide behind. So you didn't know whether to hit the deck or run or just stand still. It's very chaotic in them split seconds.
If you want to really see something to
chaos after gunfire. A bullet grazed the former president's ear, Mr. Trump narrowly escaping a more serious, possibly even fatal blow. But one man in the crowd is killed, 2 others wounded. Secret Service snipers take down Crooks, killing him.
It was devastating to us. I mean, to know that we watched a guy shoot somebody, and also even the shooter. I mean, we watched him get shot right in front of us.
Charges against many January 6th Capitol rioters will be dropped. All obstruction of an official proceeding counts will be dismissed by the DOJ following the Supreme Court's ruling last month that said obstruction had to be actively impairing or destroying evidence, such as documents. Defendants already found guilty of similar charges could have their convictions thrown out. This decision does not apply to the rioters who are charged with violent felonies that occurred on January 6th. Coming up, following some controversial Supreme Court decisions, President Biden is proposing some big changes, what he has in mind for the third branch of government. Then big changes coming to the ACT college exam, the section that will now be optional, and the timeline for the new rollout. And later, why some parents want to keep a virtual learning program in place, the months-long battle, when we return. Congressman and California Senate candidate Adam Schiff is calling for President Joe Biden to drop out of the presidential race and, quote, pass the torch in order to defeat Donald Trump in November. This sentiment seems to be in line with the majority of Democratic voters, according to a new poll by the AP NORC Center for Public Affairs Research, which finds 65% of Democrats say President Joe Biden should withdraw. Only about 3 in 10 Democrats said that they were extremely or very confident that he has the capability to serve effectively as president. Biden has vowed to stay in the race. It comes as we learn President Biden could soon reveal his support for sweeping changes to the Supreme Court. National correspondent Matt Gelka joins us with more.
There's going to probably be 2 more appointments to the court. There's probably 2 people going to retire. Just imagine if he has 2 more appointments on that, what that means forever.
President Biden talking about the Supreme Court in an interview he did with BET News. He's now reportedly gearing up a proposal that would establish term limits for the court and an enforceable ethics code, and also pitching a constitutional amendment eliminating broad immunity for constitutional office holders. The 6-3 conservative majority high court has been a long-standing issue with Democrats, most recently with controversies surrounding Justice Samuel Alito and his wife flying an upside-down U.S. flag that January 6th rioters also flew, and lavish gifts given to Justice Clarence Thomas from a Republican megadonor.
I won't get ahead of what the president's going to announce in the coming days, but in the Senate on the Judiciary Committee, there is widespread concern among Democrats about the ethics and the transparency and the recusal practices of the justices.
Former President Donald Trump made 3 appointments to the court. Some Republicans say Biden's proposals are a political stunt to sway frustrated Democratic voters.
I think our Supreme Court is constituted well. It's been like this for more than 100 years. President Biden doesn't like some of the decisions that this court has issued. But I would point out that this court is not a partisan court. They've had many 9-0 decisions this year.
The plans come as there's growing pressure among Democrats to push Biden out of the race and replace him with a more viable candidate. The president spoke to progressives in his party about his proposals over the weekend. In the 2 weeks since the Supreme Court ruled in favor of presidential immunity, a Fox News poll shows a majority of voters disapprove of that decision and 60% of voters disapprove of the court overall, an all-time high. Biden's plans are long shots and would have a tough time getting through a deeply divided Congress, where the president would need support from both sides. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka.
And tonight, dozens of aging bridges in 16 different states are getting a major upgrade. $5 billion in federal grants will be allocated to them. The latest project includes an additional $1.4 billion to help replace 2 vertical lift bridges between Oregon and Washington state. Other projects include the Sagamore Bridge in Massachusetts and an Interstate 10 bridge in Alabama, to name just a couple of them. Authorities in Thailand believe they've identified the suspect in the deaths of 6 people, including 2 Americans, found poisoned in a Bangkok hotel. An autopsy has revealed the victims were likely poisoned with cyanide. These are images of the interior of the 5th floor suite at that luxury hotel, where staff found untouched in-room dining service and mugs that had traces of the deadly chemical. Police believe the suspect who orchestrated this is one of the 6 who are dead, saying it had something to do with an outstanding debt. But of course, there are a whole lot more questions than answers at this point in what seems to be a mystery crime as the investigation continues. Major changes are coming to the ACT college admissions exam next spring. The exam will reportedly evolve to meet the challenges of students and educators. The core sections will now be shortened and will only have English, reading, and math. Science will be optional, just like the writing section. The modifications are expected to start in 2025 with online testing, and then will be rolled out for in-school testing by 2026. And in your health alert tonight, the ability to reduce anxiety and sleep better may be within the palm of your 2 hands. Medical reporter Liz Bonus looks at new research on why prayer apps might be good for your mental health.
Hey there, everybody. Digitally delivered faith and prayer now linked to better mental health. According to this new study, especially when you look at 4 areas: stress, anxiety, depression, and how well you sleep, it's okay to call on God.
We're all walking around in our lives every day, and on the inside, it is very common to be feeling a sense of anxiety, isolation, depression.
As a teaching pastor at Ohio's Crossroads Church, Allie Patterson recently downloaded a prayer app. It's one of many now available, allowing for interaction.
So I can leave a prayer request, and guess what happens through the day? As people choose my prayer request and pray for it, or pray for me, I'm actually notified on the front of my phone. Talk about making an impact and not feeling alone.
She's not the only one feeling better with the help of prayer by phone, you might say. A study in the Journal of Religion and Health found those who engaged with a prayer app lowered stress levels, anxiety, depression, and nearly all of them said that they slept better. As to perhaps why?
As we connect with God, it doesn't surprise me at all to learn that your levels of anxiety, sleeplessness, depression, isolation would all go down because you're connecting to something that gives you a sense of grounding and foundation, a sense that you're not alone, that there are others around you that are also connected to Him.
Quick reminder, if you do need mental health help, you can always call the chat line at 988. On that line, help is available in both English and Spanish 24/7. With your health news, I'm Liz Bonus reporting.
All right, Liz, thank you. And just ahead, what we know about a multi-county police chase in Florida in pursuit of package pirates and what it may indicate about an alarming trend. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering the issues that matter most to you. We're taking the pulse of America.
This is actually an iPad with some software on it that he uses.
This rising 8th grader, my name is Corinne, has been a part of the Montgomery Virtual Academy 3 years now, whose future hangs in the balance due to budget cuts. As new superintendent, Dr. Thomas Taylor greets these families on their way in for a listening session. He apologizes for the looming changes so many of these parents are fearing.
And even though I wasn't here for some of the decisions that kind of took place that led us to tonight, I am responsible for what happens moving forward.
If MCPS cannot provide free, appropriate education for our students, then they need to figure out a way that they're either going to pay for decent private schools or they're going to continue the MBA in some way, shape, or form.
The vote to approve a 0.5% sales tax in Manitowoc County passed 18-6. Manitowoc has not had a county sales tax until now.
I'm not happy about the sales tax passing, but I think it's necessary for our long-term health.
The goal of the sales tax is to remedy a $6 million deficit from the Human Services Department in Manitowoc County. Financial manager Biff Hansen says the decision was a necessity.
We went to different places. We thought we were getting close, but it just didn't work out.
Hansen also tells that they need to spend the money wisely.
We have to make sure that we don't waste that money that we get.
The 0.5% sales tax in Manitowoc County is in addition to the 5% state sales tax and will take effect on January 1st.
Aerial
footage shows a dramatic chase involving two male theft suspects. Two teens inside a speeding BMW as St. Lucie County deputies tailed them from the Treasure Coast all the way to Osceola County. The pair of suspects, both 17 years old, are accused of stealing packages and parcels from a loading dock behind a United States Postal Service facility. It's unclear if the suspects in this incident are part of a group of organized criminals targeting mail agencies, but the rise in similar thefts is something postal authorities have pledged to combat.
We have multiple rings out there in South Florida committing these types of crimes, and we're out there working day and night to try to catch these individuals and bring them to justice.
Just in time for her Out of This World world tour, Missy Elliot just became the first hip-hop artist to be beamed across the galaxy. Using a high-powered radio array in California, NASA used their deep space network to send Elliot's 1997 hit, The Rain, roughly 158 million miles away to the planet Venus. The agency didn't say why they conducted the intergalactic transmission, but we do know this is not the first song to claim that fame. Across the Universe by the Beatles was transmitted by NASA back in 2008. This is, however, a first for hip hop and Elliot, and she just seems to be thrilled to blaze the trail, saying on X that the sky is not the limit, but rather just the beginning.
I want to come and visit it because it's the last day that it's going to be open.
People, I'm not this type of person, but they've been here since 4 or 5 in the morning.
That's right. Visitors packing in to get their last sights of an iconic Vegas hotel. The Mirage Hotel and Casino closed today after 34 years in business. It will be transformed into a new Hard Rock Hotel and Casino set to open in 2027. The new integrated resort will feature a nearly 700-foot guitar-shaped hotel at the center of the Vegas Strip. The Mirage opened on the Vegas Strip back in 1989, so it is indeed the end of an era. That does it for this edition of the National Desk. We do invite you to join us again this evening for reaction to J.D. Vance's keynote speech tonight at the Republican National Convention. I'm Amira David. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great night.